elections on May 6th are around the corner, and we have today Chris Schuchardt for mayor of San Antonio, Jacob Chapa, San Antonio City Council District 7, and Lorraine Hehn. She is a candidate for mayor of Manvel, Texas. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live. Today is Wednesday. Yesterday was the last day of early voting, and we have elections coming up on May 6th. Today I'm with Orlando Sanchez, but here, Orlando, come here.
All right.
That was
Well,
a Latino time.
no, I had to shut the door and adjust the lights.
Yeah, I know.
So how is everybody?
Well, that happened when you are live, no?
Yeah, that's
Things
okay.
happen.
I
That's
can
fine.
show the studio off a
I
little
know.
bit.
I was 15 years doing news live, and a lot of things happen.
Yeah. At least no lights fell on your head.
Exactly. So welcome back.
Well, thank you. Good to be back. Nice weather for a few weeks.
Oh my God.
End of the week it'll be 100 degrees again.
I know. But
So-
but this past weekend it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather.
Yeah.
So it was very cold over there. But
It was cool, but
getting
not
nice.
not bad. Yeah, it's up in the Rocky Mountains. So anyway, we have elections going on in Texas, and so you have three, I guess, of our final guests that'll be on before the election.
Correct.
May what's
May 6th,
May
which is this
6th.
coming Saturday.
Right.
And yesterday it was the last day of early voting. It's local elections, very important elections for mayor, city council, and
boards.
school board. So very, very important elections. And we've been having the last weeks, every week, about like 2, 3 candidates that they're running for these elections on May 6th. So let's start with our friend Jacob. No, our friend Chris Schuchardt. He is a candidate for mayor of San Antonio that you met recently.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to him on the phone, a sharp young man, and I'm glad that he's running. I saw a campaign in San Antonio, which I thought was pretty interesting. As you know, San Antonio has a proposition to kind of convert San Antonio into San Francisco with all these ridiculous criminal, policies that are not going to bode well for the people of San Antonio. And the campaign was "Don't San Francisco my San Antonio," which I thought was pretty good. So, Chris, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on your run for mayor of San Antonio. You want to tell us what inspired you to put your name in the hat for mayor?
Hi, thank you guys for having me. I've lived in San Antonio my entire life. This is where I'm from. This is where my dad's from. My grandpa came here from Mexico in the 1920s. And, we've had a lot of growth over the past 10 years or so, a lot of opportunities, but, we've also had a lot of issues. And I feel that a lot of the issues have compounded over the past 5 or 6 years, mostly from poor management and poor leadership at City Hall and within our city government. And some of the things I've dealt with over the past few years, being a business owner here in town, and some of the stuff I've dealt with in my neighborhood, in my area where I live, I told my wife, I said, I started my business when I was young, and I kind of believe in if you want something done right, you need to do it yourself. And so I told her, I said, I'm going to do something crazy and take a stab at it myself, and that's how I ended up here.
Is this your first run for public office?
Yes, sir. I've never run for office before.
Well, good for you.
So, Chris, tell us about your background. What you been doing all of these years before you decide to run for office? And I know you want to give back to the community. You want things to get done because, we're seeing crazy stuff in our big cities. So tell us more about your background and how did you ended up, or who inspired you, or how did you ended up being in politics?
So when I left college, I left Texas A&M after I graduated. I worked as a credit and equities analyst for a local bank here in San Antonio. I left from there to go work for a customer when the Eagleford Shell was first booming in around 2012, 13. I ended up waiting to leave and go work down there as an assistant controller for a oil field service company till 2014, which was a little late because about 2 weeks after I left, oil dropped $50 a barrel. Uh, but it was a blessing in disguise. I ended up staying on, and the company was owned by an individual who owned a lot of other businesses, but this was a partnership. And so I actually I took the entity through bankruptcy, and I've told people, if you really want to be successful at running a business, it's pretty good to know how to put one out of business too. Uh, so I drew from that experience, and some of the people I'd met that I dealt with, they were, I asked some of the independent haulers that were working for us. I said, what are y'all going to do? And they said, well, we're going to go back into San Antonio, and we're going to start hauling construction materials for highway jobs and things like that. And I said, okay. And they said, well, you understand money in that, and we understand how to do the work. So why don't you try and get us the work and handle all the finance aspect of it and get us paid? And I said, well, I don't have anything else to do now that I don't have a job. And so I took a shot at it and picked up on it quick and started understanding how, where the supply and the demand was for certain things within the construction industry and the development industry here in San Antonio. And it kind of just took off. And, as I used to, when I first started, I did a lot of work for the city, not directly for the city, but for the contractors that were redoing streets and sidewalks. And, we would provide material and hauling for them. And, in 2019, we had a change in the management of San Antonio at the city manager level. And I will just say since then, I opted not to do any more work on the city and the street projects. Things became very disorganized, very inefficient. It was very hard to be profitable on. So I moved away from that, and I moved more into commercial and residential development. Um, and I started noticing that a lot of the big projects that I was doing and that I was involved with, they weren't really in San Antonio. They were in Schertz, they were in Selma, Cibolo. And so, I asked some people that were a lot smarter than me, well, why is that? And they said, well, a lot of businesses don't want to move into San Antonio proper because businesses like stability. And with our current city council and mayor, they never know what kind of ordinance is going to come out of City Hall that's going to affect them as a business, and that keeps them from coming into the city limits and providing a tax base within the city limits. So I said, okay. And so then, we fast forward a little while, and, I'm wondering, okay, well, this was right around when interest rates started going up last year, and there was, the housing kind of cooled off, but, there was still a shortage of housing. But, I noticed in my neighborhood that even before then, housing sales had kind of started to slow. And, it was unfortunate. I walked out one day into the alley behind my house, and there was a homeless man who um, was under the influence of something. He was naked, and I called SAPD, and it took them 50 minutes to arrive. And then they stayed with him for 30 minutes for city services to arrive. And, I just, like I said, when I told my wife, well, I'm going to take a stab at it, I started thinking about everything that I've seen being in business and that I've dealt with over the past, 6 or 7 years. And I said, I can't see the next 6 or 7 years be maintaining a San Antonio that was the same San Antonio I grew up in. And I want that, at least that same culture. I want that same feel, at least for my son as he gets older. So, I'm hoping to take us more from a lot of the issues we've been worrying about at City Hall that don't really pertain to benefiting the everyday resident of San Antonio, and kind of refocus City Council back into the crime, infrastructure, and local economy business.
What are the when you're sworn in? What are your top 3 issues that you'll tackle right away?
The first thing would be the crime. You know, I think for the geographic footprint of San Antonio, the amount of people that have moved here, not just to San Antonio, but within Bexar County, I'd like to initially try and see if we can get 400 to 500 new officers hired, and that's not something I'm willing to compromise on standards to do. So I know it would be a process, but I'd like to get that ball rolling. And one thing when you talk about that number of officers is, you, where's the money going to come from? Well, I think there's plenty of overfunded and underperforming programs within the city right now that money could be diverted to public safety resources, so it wouldn't turn into a big budget fight to get those new police officers. But for the police officers too, there's also a lot of issues with the fire department. a lot of our stations are outdated. There's shortage of equipment for the guys and gals in the department. And, just as much as you might need a police officer when someone's breaking in your house, you definitely need the fire department if it's on fire. Um, but for the crime, and one thing I would really want to focus on, the long-term solution for the crime is to provide opportunity. I've never believed that poor economic conditions don't necessarily create crime, but crime will definitely create poor economic conditions. And I think, there's a lot of areas in town that they need to be revitalized, and we need to have a plan to bring growth into jobs into San Antonio that are a fit for the people who live in San Antonio. The past couple of years, we brought a lot of jobs into the area, but we're then having to bring people in to fill those jobs. And it's leaving some of our residents with not very many options to climb the ladder in life and further their lot. So I would be a big push on bringing in more jobs in different industries than what we're currently focused on. The focus on which industries we would bring in would change should I be sworn in. Uh, and then obviously the streets. I mean, I go to all the different council candidate forums and I hear all the different programs and ideas that a lot of the council candidates have. And, a lot of those things sound good. But at the end of the day, when they get to the infrastructure question and they're asked, how are you going to pay for it? You kind of get crickets. A lot of these other things, if we want good streets, good drainage, and good infrastructure, a lot of these other programs are a luxury. I think last I heard, we need a little over $5 billion to bring our infrastructure up to par. And I think that's important. I don't think it's something that can be neglected, because I personally think that good roads bring in good businesses, and good businesses bring good jobs, and good jobs bring good neighborhoods. So I think the investment's worth it, and we can't keep delaying it.
Absolutely.
San Antonio, unlike Houston, here in Houston, we have a very strong mayor form of government. I mean, everybody works for the mayor. The mayor sets the agenda. But in San Antonio, it's different. I suspect you folks still have a city manager. Is that correct?
Yes, we still have a city manager.
So help me
Which,
understand this. So Chris, in San Antonio, council and mayor set policy, and the city manager implements the policies and the wishes and the budget adopted by the city council?
yeah, so essentially anything that's passed by the council gets handed off to the city manager, which, then he manages what departments those flow through, whether it be public works or if it's animal care services or, anything through those different departments. It's all managed there. It's not directly handled by the mayor and the city council. Very frank that we passed a charter amendment in 2019 that limited the pay of our city manager to 10 times the lowest paid city employee. I really think that the emotion that surrounded that when it was passed, I think that's something that needs to be revisited. If you look around the country at some of these other cities, a good city manager can save the city money, can implement, new processes, create efficiency, optimize in my opinion, government needs to be run the same as any other business, and every other business that doesn't offer good customer service normally doesn't stay around long. Uh, and I feel those things all come with a good city manager. Uh, However, we're limited at this time as to what we can pay when it comes to the market rate. And that's not to say that I don't think, I have never interacted with. I know our current city manager, who he is. It's not something I can pass judgment on until I'm in the position to see what the processes are in place now. It may be a little easier fix than having to go out and change the charter or go try to hire somebody new. But, as far as being the mayor, you're just one vote on the council. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to get at least 5 other council members to go along with your policies and your agenda. And I've tried to be very honest with people as I talk to them that, I have no overarching executive action to, make sweeping changes to the issues that people are most upset about. But, one good thing about having been in business for the past 8 years is I've learned in my business that I'm never going to get everything I want in every deal that I make, but I always get enough to make a profit and to keep growing my business. And so that's the approach I would want to take when dealing with the rest of the council on trying to get these issues, as well as the issues that are pertinent to the district. I've told people in the different districts, I'm not here to, you elect your city council person based on what they say they're going to do for your district. I'm not here to try and convince your city council person to do something other than what is best for your district. If anything, I want to be your backup to make sure that your council member is actually advocating for what you want when at council. Uh, but hopefully there can be give and takes, and realizations of how things can be better between at least 5 or 6 people to move the needle forward.
One last question for me is, what's your prediction on the ridiculous proposition that's being set forth before the voters?
So what we've seen through early voting last week and the early part of this week, uh, everybody's always complained about voter turnout in San Antonio for these local municipal elections. Well, Prop A definitely got people to the polls, but it didn't get people to the polls in favor of it. I've been to 8 or 9 poll sites a day through early voting, and I don't think I've been to one where it was less than 50-50, but most of them I've seen it's 80-20, 80 being against it. So I think we're gonna see that go by the wayside.
All right.
Okay,
I
well,
sure hope we do.
that's great. Well, Chris, call to action. I know you keep campaigning because elections coming on Saturday. So, call to action. Tell us, how people can help you in San Antonio. Last minute campaigning and helping you volunteering.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go to the website, they can connect with us through our website, schuchartformayor.com, or then go get us on Facebook at Schuchardt for Mayor SA. If anybody's willing to help block walk, we're going to continue block walking through this week. Uh, the actual election day number of polling sites on election day is rather large compared to early voting. So, if we could hit people that, even if you could just come out for an hour or two, hold the sign, greet people with a smile, um,
Write it down.
you
Write it
know,
down.
it's about what we need for that.
Well, good
Sorry,
luck
I
to
had a
you.
little interference there.
No
No, don't
problem
worry,
at all.
Chris. Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so
Thank you.
much. Good luck, and we're gonna,
Well,
keep in touch with you next week to see what was the results, and we wish you everything. And TLC is always here to support you.
Thank y'all very much for having me on.
all right. Take care, Chris.
Well, it seems like San Antonio has same issues like we do Dallas, crime. I mean, it's crazy what every day we're seeing. And I saw just the Honduras family that got shot, and I mean it's insane what we're seeing and we're living every single day
Yeah.
in the big cities.
Yeah.
So talking about candidates for mayor, so we're gonna have now Lorraine Hehn. She is a candidate for mayor of Manvel, Texas, and I met her through a mutual friend that we have, and when my friend, when she find out that we have a TLC and we have the political show, a conservative, that's like one of my dear friends are running for mayor of this small city, and she's a conservative. So you guys should have her on the show because her elections also are May 6th. Lorraine, welcome to TLC Live, and thanks for your time. And tell us about you. And I know you are currently in a position, in a public office position. So tell us about you.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me. And yes, I was very surprised when you reached out to me because I thought to myself, I did not know I was that great that anybody would even know or care who I am here in Manvel, Texas. So I was so grateful that she thought of me. Yes, so I am currently in a home ruled city in Manvel, Texas. We're about 17,000 in the city, but we also control about 3 large subdivisions in our limited purpose ETJ. That's 3 large subdivisions that are not necessarily in the city, but because we control their development and have that limited annexation, which brings them into the city in the future, that's probably another 10 to 15,000 people. So it actually, our power really and our influence stretches kind of far and wide outside of the city here in Manvel and between Alvin, Texas, Iowa Colony, Missouri City, and Pearland, Texas. So we're right at the beginning of Brazoria County before it starts to just boom. So we're starting from Pearland, going all the way down. We are probably the next big boom coming into the rural of Brazoria County.
Yeah, and you just took the
So
next question.
yeah,
The next
yeah.
question for
Say it
me
again.
is, I said you just took the next question from me, and that is, I'm assuming you guys are expecting substantial growth.
Oh yeah, we have probably quadrupled in the largest boom in the last just 5 or 6 years. Because when I was elected in 2015, we were a little over 7,000 in 2015, just barely. We had just finished or probably updating for the second time our wastewater treatment plan, our water plan, our thoroughfare plan, our comprehensive plan, all of those things. And I can't stress to you how that helped me be where I'm at today because I sat on all of those boards and commissions prior to even running. So I had no idea that they would be preparing me for this because I simultaneously sat on most of those commissions in 2012, 13, and 14. And in 15, I was elected. And even today, I sit on the Manvel Economic Development Corporation because the state allows us to be in two places. And I'm also the vice president of the Association for Municipal Hispanic Officers with TML. So I reach far and wide, and I also bring that information back to our council to let us all know and keep us on top of what's coming so we can plan accordingly. Because some of the things that I was listening to Chris talk about in San Antonio, the way to get ahead of these kind of things is to plan and leave no stone unturned for the future. Being prepared for these seats and sitting in council as long as I have, because not only have I been there 8 years, almost terming out, I've been unanimously nominated as the mayor pro tem next to the mayor for the last 6. And actively with her, and our current mayor is Deborah Davison, she has been a good sight in us and a good about decorum and sending us all out to different areas of the community to bring that information back to us and at that council table so we could share with all of us what we know about what's going on either at the state level, the county level, in our own little communities, the pockets of communities, so that we can keep on top of everything that's happening. But for myself and how I prepared for this position, spending a lot of time with other entities and knowing how they can assist us in different areas. Our drainage districts, I mean, we have a lot of drainage issues in Manvel that have make our development somewhat difficult. However, in some areas, because we have such a council that's willing to work with a lot of people in the community, and of course, individual one-offs, making sure that we can do what we can to help them develop in areas that are difficult, if you will, for drainage, roads. Sometimes people don't like the strong ordinances, and we have to be able to work through all of them in sections in order to be able to get them going, if you will. So it takes experience. It takes drainage district connections, county connections, state connections, and of course, whatever our surrounding cities are doing. No sense in reinventing the wheel. Being with them and collaborating with them and joining with them and learning from them what we should do and what we shouldn't do in order to not have so many problems for the future. All of that takes experience, know-how, learning what a home ruled city is like. I understood, I was appreciative of somebody bringing that up to Chris in San Antonio. Being in a home ruled city does mean you are 1 vote of 7 in our case. You have to be able to collaborate with our council with at least 3 or 4 other people to move it forward. And in the years that I've sat in council, you can look back on my record and see that there are very few, if not any, agenda items that I have not vetted personally with our city manager and attorney, with maybe 1 or 2 people on council staying under that quorum, and just getting that influence and that buy-in from 7 council to pass things for the good of the community, not for me, not for one person, not for one business, but for everybody. And that is not just an art and a skill, but it is that spirit of collaboration and buy-in from your community to get us to move forward as fast as we have for as long as we've been doing it. It's definitely a learned skill. And if you can't get people on council to see that, then you're not going to be able to get the community to see that, and you will move nowhere. You'll just be very still, one voice, very frustrated.
So
So,
Lorraine, I mean, I hear you. So the issues for small cities are different than big cities, as we were hearing, Chris, in San Antonio. Of course, here in Houston, the crime is public safety as our biggest issue. Uh, what do you describe me or give me the points of the issues on a small city like Manvel, and if you're seeing that now that it's booming and it's growing, you're also seeing public safety issues.
yeah. Well, the one thing that if I could do anything different to move it quicker, but we couldn't, and it is what it is that our city has at 17,000 people, I'm sad to say, we are still in a police station that is smaller than a 15 square foot home and 2 mobile buildings. That is how hard it's been to move forward to make sure that we get our police officers in the place that they need to be to operate the massive growth that we have. Now, we've been pretty blessed and very connected enough to know that we haven't had such an influence because we are such a good management of our density and our growth that we've been slowly bringing in officers, slowly making those plans, making sure that our COs that we just took out at the table to build our large 50,000 square foot police station is not going to be a burdensome on the debt for the city. So we have planned for this for years. We are very proactive in making sure that we have facilities planned, the roads, the pipes, the water, again, public safety, making sure that our budget has accounted for every cent of that, because not only do on one side people say, we need it now, we have to have it, where is it, it's not here. The other side of that coin is we cannot burden the taxpayers with high rates and spend. We have to plan methodically. So as a small town, the best thing that we have done in the years I've been in office is to plan accordingly, making sure that we keep our CIP plans, that's our capital improvement plans, up to date, making sure we have the most conservative budget, making sure that we're working within the tax rate that we have and not put it on everybody to get these things, and prioritize them and realize those plans so that people can see it going in the right direction. Now, it's clear that what has slowed us down is natural things, a pandemic, a freeze, a recession, of Harvey. All of those things put us in a slow spot, but we never lost our vision and kept our eye on the prize, that what the city is lacking and what has needed and what we are getting currently is community space, economic development, a center for the city, because our city has no downtown. It has no revitalization areas. It has nothing to bring us together. And so years ago, we planned that by creating that and proactively buying land in order to put in a special district, which means the taxpayers will not be affected. The taxing district will only be a district up at the state right now in order for us to bring all of us together in one place. Because if you know the roots of Manvel, Manvel is half rural, half subdivision, divided by a freeway. And so it is always a feat to sit at that table and speak from both sides to make sure that they not only do they feel welcome and received in their city, that together we plan for them to be blended very accordingly. It takes a special counsel. It takes a special way to present it. It takes education, and it takes hearing both sides to make sure that we can blend them and grow together in a collaborative effort.
And I love to see women in politics. I mean, you're telling me that also the mayor is a woman, and I guess you guys are supporting each other, or
Yes.
she's not also for mayor again. She cannot run it.
No.
Oh, perfect.
Well,
So
yeah, she decided it was time to move on. She's a wonderful lady, and prior to her, we had a mayor for 18 years, woman,
wow,
and she did amazing things. All of us women did amazing things. I'd love to plug Mayor Dolores Martin. She did everything that she needed to do for as long as she did it, and because of her, she walked into a situation years ago where the city had no money, they had no credit writing, and she worked hard, tirelessly, and thanklessly to bring us to the best place to have the best financial situation. And so when she was voted out and Mayor Davison came in, we worked very hard in the 6 years that she was here to get us on the map. We had to bond out for some things. We had to educate some people on some things. We had to mend some relationships with our surrounding communities to say, come on, we're all together, let's move forward. And now she did what she did. And then there's me, young Hispanic, loud, let's get this done. We could do this, guys. We have to move this city forward spirit. And she said, now it's time for you to come in. She wants to be a grandmother. She has her family. She's done what she was supposed to do. And so now I have a wonderful council who I'm proud of all of us. I cannot say enough because for us to be as diverse as we are and completely diverse. And we're talking a black man, um, Hispanic woman, to rural, to subdivision, to retired, to somebody from the fire department, to somebody that's in EMS and safety. We're not districted. We come naturally to the table. We come from far and wide of Manvel residents who find their way there, elected by the people, received by the people, and because of all of these ideas that come to us, they not only have every one of them just grateful to support me in the public, they all of us together are planning our future for every walk of life, and that's why in Manvel, Texas, you're going to see us moving quick, efficiently, conservatively, with not a lot of dismay at our table, because we know that the right thing to do is to get there first, quickly, and efficiently.
Lorraine, you're saying
Mm-hmm.
what is
Yeah.
you're saying Hispanic? What is your background?
So me, I come and I was born in Sinton, Texas, outside of Corpus Christi, and my dad is one of 16. My mom is one of four, and so I, when we grew up, we spent a lot of time out there outside of Sinton, Alice Taft, if you're familiar with those small little areas there. And I would come to Baytown to go to school. And then every holiday, every 4 day weekend, summer, Christmas, all of that, we would spend all that time in the ranch because I didn't know until I went to college, community college, that we did anything outside of our family. And I believed growing up that everybody knows their tias and their tios and their primos and all of that stuff. That's all we did. And then I married somebody in community college. A few months into community college, I married an only child, and my parents said, that's a terrible idea. However, he blended so well with us. And so I come from that large family where the oldest daughter is pretty much given a lot of responsibility to be in charge, not only of the family, but of what goes on in her community. And I'm grateful for that because I think that springs a lot into how I govern. Being asked to be on the Association for Municipal Hispanic Officers, we have to bring a lot of awareness as to how our culture helps us to govern in these kind of areas. And culturally, probably not something that you hear a lot about it in the Hispanic culture, that women don't really get here naturally because we're homebodies. We put our hands on our kids, very loyal and close to our husbands, and that's just the nature of how we grow up. Not that that's bad, but for me, my dad probably from when I was very young would say to me that for me, he wanted education. For me, he wanted the spirit. For me, he said, get out there and make your mark. I don't want you to just be at home with children. I want you to go out there and make your way in the world. And because my dad supported me having more education, he supported my husband wanting more education. He supports our kids doing that. So in my immediate family, I was the first to graduate from college. I am the only politician in this family. And so I have a lot of my tios and my tias watching me right now, um, expecting me to go work at the state level. I tell them, no, thank you, I'll stay here.
Well, I'm
And
gonna ask your
very,
tias and tios
yeah,
to share this video with their
I
Facebook
will.
community, with the YouTube community, because I mean, you were telling me like, oh my God, I feel important now that people are are seeing politics in Mayville.
And a lot of little girls, believe it or not, I have a lot of supporters
Yeah.
and block walkers that come out, and I have little girls. And I mentor at one of our elementary schools through our Alvin ISD program called YETS, where we get to line up with and mentee little kids. And I've been with this one little girl for 3 years who is waiting and she holds my sticker and she has my little shirt and
Yeah,
she's
that is
waiting
an
for me to come the
inspiration,
day
you
after
know.
election to see that these little girls. I think that is what weighs on me the most is the little girls and the women who are out there supporting me, knocking on doors for me, handing out my literature. And it is, I used to not think that me being a woman was a big deal. I'm qualified. As I mentioned,
We are
I
big
have,
deal. We can do it all. We are big
you
deal.
know,
And you know
I've
what?
been through all of
And I've been
this
seeing more
input.
women
Yeah,
supporting women, and that's very important. And we need to encourage that more, because we need to really, if we get together, we are so capable and powerful in many ways that if we are capable to
absolutely.
get together more often and support each other more often, we can beat everything.
Yes, and I'm hoping to do it. I feel good about it. I have a lot of good track record behind me. I am praying for the best, leaving it to God. Want my family to be very proud of me, and I want to do what I'm supposed to do for this community and move us forward.
And you will. I'm looking forward to see the results
Thank
on
you.
Saturday, May 6th.
Hmm.
Lorraine, thank you so much for your time. Let's keep in touch. We want to follow up with you next week to see. I mean, I'm sure you're going to win. So, for sure, we want to have you back on the show. And we want to have you also part of Texas Latino Conservatives to help us, to help other women and other candidates and other Latinos to run for office, because we need representation and we need our voice in our community.
Thank you so much for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Okay, Lorraine, thank you so much.
Thank you. Mhm.
So now we're gonna have our third candidate is Jacob Chapa. He is running for San Antonio City Council in District 7. He's been campaigning, of course, because this is the last week of campaign before May 6th is the elections day. Do we have Jacob? Yes, Jacob. How are you?
Hello.
I'm sure you've been super busy campaigning, and this is the last week, and Saturday is gonna be the elections. So welcome to TLC Live. Thanks for taking the time to let us know about you and how do we support you and how do we can get to know you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm a relatively young candidate. I'm 21 years old, and that point is very mentioned when I speak to possible constituents, and it's a very legitimate, question that they have for me. How can we trust someone so young to govern and someone who lacks experience? I wouldn't say I lack total experience. I've been a legal assistant at a debt collection law firm for about 2 years now. We do litigation across the entire state. But what I have seen recently is basically how inflation and different kinds of economic pressures like that are affecting citizens of San Antonio. And so that was part of my call for one of my policy proposals, which is increasing the homestead exemption and taking other measures, whether it be privatization, maybe cutting some city programs that fuel into the city sales tax, and basically trying to get every penny possible back to our consumers, back to our community, so that they can have the autonomy to spend it in the matter that they like, and that the government wouldn't have it to spend it how they like. And also, being a younger person, I have seen firsthand with peers and friends and other students really how deep the mental illness endemic is. Of course, it
That's a
affects people
pandemic
of all
that we're
ages,
seeing these
but
days.
Mhm.
yes,
Yeah.
it's a struggle of this generation. You know, we're not like the great generation. We're not going off to world wars. We're not dealing with containment and communism and other things of that sort. But this generation's problem and their, I don't know if I'd call it a war. It's not necessarily a war, but their struggle is mental illness. And it's very troubling. I always point out to people that between 2019 and 2020, youth suicide went up 50% in San Antonio. And those kind of data metrics are the same across the board, basically for the entire country. And so I really want to see action on that. And I just want to see a healthy city. And that's really why I'm running. I want to see us healthy mentally and fiscally. And I think those two things go hand in hand and they're very important.
That's absolutely very important. But plus, we don't see many people that really take this, the city or their town seriously. And I think that's very important. Seeing somebody like you, 21 years old. Last week, I have Joel Castro here with us. He is a city council member in Alvin, Texas. Okay, here is Orlando is back with us. And he started in Alvin, Texas when he was 18. He has the energy, he has the passion, he wants to help his community. And seeing somebody like you, of course, is an inspiration, not only for us that we're a completely different generation, but for your generation. And you're absolutely right. A lot of things need to be done, and people like you will understand your generation better than anybody else.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, I would say that's true. And I just, I think it's sad. Our generation has so much potential. You look at cell phones, you look at the internet, you look at all the resources that we have. We really do have the world at our hands. And we have job opportunities at our hands. We have internship opportunities at our hands. We have opportunities to be entrepreneurs that past generations never had. And so I hate to see this mental illness endemic really harming our generation and kind of demoralizing them and stripping them of being cognizant of the fact that they have this great capability thanks to advances in technology. And your chances for prosperity are far greater than that of your ancestors or even past generations. And so for it to be spoiled by a lack of city funding and a lack of addressing and really trying to relieve these mental illness problems, I think that's a shame, and it needs to be changed for sure.
Jacob, I'm a mother of twins, and my kids are 18. It's your generation pretty much. Um, don't you think that is also not only to help that your generation, but also the parents? That it's like it's a gap of disconnection, that these parents probably they not all understand technology, and they not all understand what the kids are doing and what is being exposed. And probably that's another factor that it's is contributing to this pandemic, mental health pandemic that we are living.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, parenting is huge. Parents develop their children, and they are consequential for whether they develop in a good way or possibly a bad way. And even when you talk about homelessness, drug use, mental illness endemic, addiction, I think that a lot of these problems stem from, I would say, you can have the mother and the father, but it's mostly fatherless households. I mean, fatherless households really are the core and the root of so many problems that we see. And so I think that basically this can't be supplemented by city funds, but it's something that I think we need to change in the culture about parenting, and that parenting needs to be active. Parenting needs to take responsibility that those are your children. And, I think it really needs to be exasperated the fact that your children are your legacy. As parents, one day you will die, and it's probably closer to that of your kids. And all that this world will have left, or all the remnants of yourself, are your children. And so I think that this is also a question of how active parents are in kids' lives. And I would definitely like to see changes and basically people advocating in city council and other positions in the county, basically telling parents that these children are your responsibility, and they are unfortunately flushed with information, flushed with content and media, and you need to be kind of basically that filter for them, helping them discern what's right, what's not, what they should be looking at, what they shouldn't be looking at, and overall having an active role in their lives, because at the end of the day, that's one of the most important factors in determining their success in the future.
Jacob, I jumped in a little late, but I understand you're about to graduate with a degree in political science.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have a final exam right now in about 2 hours.
Okay. Well, good for you. So, how long have you had an interest in serving the citizens? First of all, this is really exciting to me because this is exactly the reason why Texas Latino Conservatives was formed, is to try to find some of the best and the brightest in Texas, young conservatives that are willing to sacrifice making substantial amounts of money. And there's no doubt in my mind that Jacob could go out into the private sector and make a six-figure salary. He's chosen to run for city council in District 7 of San Antonio. And not even, while he's in the middle of his examinations, he's in the final stretch of a campaign to be a city council member. And that's a huge sacrifice. But this is the type of leadership that Texas needs. And I'm curious as to, when did you catch the bug to serve your community as an elected representative?
It was probably about, I'd say, close to a year ago, June of 2020. And that's when I took a look at the SA Forward plan. And like the data point I mentioned before, because I'm a big numbers guy. I mean, you can have your ideology, but at the end of the day, numbers are numbers and they tell the true story. And so, youth suicide goes up 50% from 2019 to 2020. When it comes to numbers, San Antonio has less insured people than state and national averages. We have less college and high school graduates compared to state and national averages. Our domestic violence rate is higher than that of other Texas cities. Fortunately, our rape and murder rate is higher than that of Texas cities. And so I saw us lagging behind so many important issues, so many humanitarian issues. And I thought to myself, well, you look at what's going on around us. There's inflation, costs are really elevated. The city is quite frankly flushed with money, and so I thought it would be an appropriate step to take for 2023, considering how much money the city has, and basically trying to turn the wheel around on other things like, climate change, climate resiliency, other efforts like that that don't really affect people's lives that directly and don't really have such a net benefit to their lives. And really instead trying to focus on these dire issues that plague San Antonio, like domestic violence and sex trafficking. And the truth is, I mean, this is my opinion, but I think some would agree it's the truth. These issues are probably why San Antonio lacks behind in investment compared to other cities like Houston, Austin, and Dallas, is because we have such issues like this, and it hinders our workforce from becoming advanced. And when your workforce isn't advanced, companies aren't going to want to come here. And so I think it's a two-step problem, but I'd really like to take it on and see it change.
Well, I'll share a story with you. A couple of years ago, we got a call from a young man by the name of Roman Garcia, just west of you. If you take I-10 up to Kerrville, he was running for city council of Kerrville, and we stepped in to help him out, and he became a city councilman and still is in Kerrville, Texas. So I am just excited to see your generation stepping up, and not only stepping up to put a name on the ballot, but stepping up with some concrete ideas and figures and numbers, and an intelligent analytical approach to what it is a city like San Antonio needs to do to attract investments. And you're spot on. I mean, we've had a sociologist from Rice University here, Professor Kleinberg, who says that your generation it needs to have a knowledge base to compete in the 21st century. The days of manufacturing and of skilled labor are falling by the wayside, and you need a solid education to participate in the 21st century economy. And you couldn't be, more correct in your assessment of what is necessary to compete in the economy. I'm just delighted that you're a candidate, And I'm just just amazed by your level of grasp of the issues, your intelligence, your ability to articulate those thoughts. And I certainly want to wish you the very best. I remember I ran as the first Hispanic immigrant for city council in Houston in 1995. I was fortunate to win. Uh, I'm just going to tell you that I hope you stay active in local politics and that you look to us for some help in the future uh, as you move forward in your political career.
Jacob, call to action. I know you have the test in 2 hours, in 2 horas. So call to action. I mean, the elections is on Saturday, so tell us how to help you.
Ok. Y también quiero decir, si hay unos hispanohablantes que no pueden hablar inglés, también como ustedes, favor de ver mi sitio de redes, ver mi Facebook y mándenme un mensaje por Messenger si quieren en español. Y claro que les puedo responder y darles una conexión, así que sientan cómodos en sus ciudades y que sientan cómodos que hay alguien que está respondiendo a sus problemas así.
Pues qué
Wow.
orgullo tener un candidato como Jacob, ¿eh?
Súper orgullosa de ti. Le estaba diciendo a Jacob que la semana pasada tuvimos aquí a Joel Castro, que empezó cuando tenía apenas 18 años y todavía está en la posición, termina 2025, todavía tiene tiempo para estar ahí en su posición de concejal en Alvin, Texas. Y también ha sido parte de Texas Latino Conservatives. Así que de verdad que nos sentimos también muy orgullosos nosotros de tener candidatos como ellos y que nuestra organización esté apoyando a esta sangre joven que tiene tantas ganas de ayudar a la comunidad y de hacer la diferencia. Así que Jacob, mucha suerte. Estamos súper pendientes de ti, de las elecciones el día sábado 6 de mayo. Vas a ganar seguramente, estamos muy confiados en eso. La próxima semana hablaremos de eso para volverte a tener aquí en el programa y no solamente eso, sino que nos ayudes también con nuestro programa de Leadership Latino para que también le ayudemos a otros jóvenes a conseguir esta carrera política, a servir a la comunidad, a ser la voz de nuestra comunidad y poderlo seguir guiando así como tú estás. Mucha suerte también en tu examen que vas a tener en 2 horas, así que déjanos saber cómo te va.
Yeah, good luck on your race Saturday and on your exam, and stay in touch with us, Jacob. Let us know what's going on. I hope this is not the last we hear from you.
Yes, sir.
Certainly.
Thank you to both of you.
Thank you, Jacob. Wow, what amazing people we have
I'm
today,
telling you that the
candidates.
talent among the young generation of conservative Latinos across the state of Texas is nothing short of phenomenal. Whether it's Joel Castro, who sat in for me last week, whether it's Roman Garcia, whether it's Jacob Chapa, I mean, it's just incredible. And there are thousands and thousands of young conservative Hispanics. We've always said the Latino community will ensure that Texas remains a conservative state into the foreseeable future. And, I remind everybody that it is because of the generosity of our donors that we're able to find these candidates and help them in their races. We wish we could help everybody. It's a huge state, 254 counties, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of municipalities and school board races and commissioners court and county treasurers and sheriffs and county judges and district clerks and county clerks and you know criminal court judges, civil court judges. We can't help everybody, but I can tell you that the ones we do find are caliber quality candidates and they merit your help. So if you want to help us help them, go to our website, texaslatinoconservatives.com. You'll see a donate button up on the right-hand side. Make a donation. It could be $5 or it could be $50,000. We appreciate every dollar, and every dollar is good to put to good use to help these candidates who deserve to be elected to office because their values are our values and they're Texas values.
Pues nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Muchas gracias por habernos acompañado y suerte a todos los candidatos. Recuerde, mayo 6 son las elecciones. May 6 is the coming election. So let's go out and support the candidates and support ourselves because depend of them what is the progress of our community. So see you next Wednesday.
No se
Bye-bye.
olviden votar.